Hello and welcome to the Big 12 Mafia Holy Rivals show. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me are my two key contributors to the show and have become really close friends. That would be Moen Show and Immaculate View. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Very good.
Good,
Glad to be
good.
back with you guys tonight.
Yeah, we missed you last night, Immaculate. There were a lot of people asking for you, and I know you joined in chat there for a little bit, but we
You
had
guys
some
did
fun.
good. It was fun watching you guys kind of just do your thing. It's like,
Right,
I'm holding
sure.
these guys back.
No, stop it. I want to welcome everybody who's watching live that's new to the channel. Please subscribe and follow us all on Twitter and then turn on your notifications. There's been some issues we've had in the past where people simply aren't turning their notifications on. They don't know when our show is. So easiest way to fix that is to turn those suckers on and, sort of go from there. We have fun on this show and we invite you to be part of it. Give us a thumbs up. Evidently that helps YouTube know that we're around, and that helps us also grow the channel for sure. And today we're going to do a pick'em show of 12 games. So if you're watching this recorded or live, whatever, write down all of your picks and DM them to me in Twitter. I will track those, and next week, we'll probably say Tuesday next week, we'll be able to review those games and we'll talk about your picks. We've done it so far. We've had some fun with some of the viewers, and we invite you to do that with us. Before we get to our picks, you guys, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time here at the beginning of the show to kind of catch everybody up on what's doings with you and your school, and maybe stuff we didn't get to last night. So I'll start with you, Moen. What's up with Ohio State, and how's you and your show going?
Radio silence. That's what's going on at Ohio State. We're
Nice.
going to make sure we cater all our food from Ohio. We're not going to give them any chances. We're not going to take any chances. We'll see how well they do when they can't steal signs.
I like it. And then tell everybody about your show.
I do a show on Monday sometimes when my audio works. Sometimes my audio doesn't work, and I can only hear myself half the time. That's fun. But yeah, I just do a show once a week. I just ramble mostly, but it's fun. We have fun there.
Well, we appreciate you being here and giving us your time today. How about you, Immaculate? You were gone yesterday. There was quite a bit of news that came out
It
yesterday.
was. Actually,
Um,
yesterday was the day I wanted to be with you guys, and unfortunately could not. But looking forward to diving into a bit today. It's news that I've actually been waiting for. It's the type of news that you're not sure what to wait for, but when you see it, it definitely strikes your eye. So looking forward to talking about that. As far as Iowa goes, I guess we're just going to try and win ourselves a conference championship game. But first and foremost, we got to go into Nebraska and beat Nebraska, I guess. Coach Rule has been saying all kinds of nice things about the Ferences in order to try to lull the guys into not really caring that much when they play tomorrow. So, or Friday. Yeah, no, we are playing Friday. So we'll see how that goes. But we'd like to get Nebraska to not have any bowl game practices if at all is possible.
yeah, what's their record right now? 5-6.
Yep. Keep them at
Okay.
5-7 instead of 6-6. That's the goal. But we'll see.
There are a lot of teams this year at 5-6, 6-5, 4-7, 7-4. A lot more than I think we've seen recently. There's in the last several years we've had a ton of top end games that would have been 8-4. Excuse me. 7-5 was a stretch for the top 25, and this year it seems like there was a lot of people beating each other up in the top 25. So, good luck to Iowa. I don't have anything against Iowa at all. I used to really like Nebraska, but they've fallen so far. It's kind of hard. The Osborne years were a long time ago, and it's hard for me to, cheer for those guys anymore.
Yeah, I think the transfer portal has created a lot of, even like right in the mid area, a lot of parity and a lot of more schools that
Right.
are getting wins against this team but losing against that team, and it's it's less about just sheer talent overwhelming and now more about your build and, what's your scheme is versus this team scheme, but not good against that team scheme. So it's interesting to see, a world of parity in college football start to show itself.
And I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger as the A4 separate. You're going to start seeing a big separation between a 3-star is almost a stretch for the best teams to even have any 3-stars on their team. Most of their teams are 4 and 5 stars. So the top end G5 schools are primarily going to be 3-star and below athletes, and the A4 you're going to have a lot more consolidation, I think, with the players.
A lot more schools at that level, I think, have 3-star talent than you think. Like Iowa, that's basically all it is. When we'll get a few 4-stars in there, but I mean the good teams, if you can make good with 3-stars and find the right ones. I mean,
right.
These rankings, these ratings, they're not absolute. They hit, they miss. You get 5-stars that come in like, maybe a quarterback at Penn State that turns out that maybe they shouldn't have been a 5-star.
Right.
They are in talent wise, but just not up here when it comes to once you got to play the game at that level. And you just never know. And there's 2-stars and 3-stars that come out. And it just comes down to these coaches having to know. And that's one of the things that I do appreciate about the Iowa coaches is that they seem to be able to look at the 3-star range and really kind of know where they're going with it.
Well, let's jump right into our picks. There are 12 games we're going to be picking this week. Let me bring that screen up so everybody can see it. And I'm hoping, that's big enough. I think most people can see. On Twitter, if you're watching on Twitter, if it's really small, I apologize. I kind of am trying to keep Moen and Immaculate on the screen if at all possible. I did put out invitations for other people to join the show. Obviously, nobody is forced to be here on a Wednesday before Thanksgiving, but we might have a couple of guests pop in, and that might be interesting as we go through these. Let me just put a note out here, sort of an all call to people who want to participate. And then after we go through the news, after we do our picks, we'll do the news, specifically stories that we wanted to talk about last night, but Immaculate was out. We're going to review those. And then at the end of the show, depending on what that time is, maybe there's some time for some participation for you guys to join the show on a call, or we can take some more comments. Before we do picks, let's quickly call out the people who are here first. And it looks like we're getting off to a slow start today, but that doesn't surprise me. It's before Thanksgiving. It's basically a holiday for most people. So people are out shopping and doing family things. So anyway, Moen was first. Good to know. Moen, thanks for being here. Glenn Lumen from the Philippines says, good morning from the Philippines. We have some interesting tiebreakers. It should be a wild weekend. That is true. There are some crazy tiebreakers. We'll see if we can cover some of those through the games as we go across them. Certainly in the Big 12, everybody knows. I think the tiebreaker book is like 3 pages long. It is absolutely nuts. Eugene is second. Nice to have you here, Eugene. Charles says, what news? That's, I think, to you, Immaculate. Let's see, Dallas Marquez. Hello, everyone. Good to have you here, Dallas. I think I've seen you before. Welcome to the show, and thanks for being here and giving us your time today. And that's all the new people. So let's just go right out of this really quick. I wanted to highlight how you can become a member of the show and the channel. You just go to the Big 12 Mafia Twitter page. You hit this join button after you subscribe, and here's all the paid memberships you can do. Each one of them has a different level. If you do it at the founder level for 1 month, I will send you a rally towel. And, they're basically at cost because they cost about $5 to sell. They were like $3.50 to make. So I'm like making no money on them, but it's just a participation thing. Helps people get into the show. If you guys join, please send me a DMs and remind me, and I will get that out to you. But we always invite people to be with us and be a member, and that's the easy way to do it. All right, let's jump into Moen ships. I like this. Moen ships coming soon. Ooh, baby. I like that a lot. All right. First of all, just so everybody knows, we picked these games completely at random. We did the best ones that we could think of that are supposed to be rivalries, or we picked the 4 games that cover our schools, regardless of the spread and whether they were a rivalry or not. So that's basically what we're going to be covering tonight. We'll start with the first one. Ole Miss giving up 10 points to Mississippi State. Mississippi State, this has been a lost season for them, primarily because they lost their coach, Mike Leach, last winter. So it's been really tough on them. What do you guys think about this game?
Well, personally, I think this is going to be Kiffin's last chance to really show, hey, hire me. So I think he's coming out against the rival at their stadium, and he's going to be firing off all rounds, and it's probably not going to slow down all game.
So you're taking Ole Miss?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you, Moen?
Oh, Ole Miss all day. I don't even think this is going to be close. I'd be surprised if Mississippi State gets more than 10 points.
Yeah,
I
I'm going
think
to
Ole Miss is going to roll it up on them. I think 49 plus points from Ole Miss.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's even going to bring in second string if he's like way ahead. He's just going to be, it's going to be show off time, and he's not going to get attacked for it because it's going to be, that rivalry game. So
what are we thinking about Lane Kiffin to Texas A&M?
people don't seem to like it.
Okay.
But I do. I think, everyone keeps saying it's not the right fit. It's not the right fit. Clearly, picking for fit does not work for A&M.
Right.
I would say I don't care if maybe because it's not fit. Maybe that's why you should go and try it, because the guy can coach and the guy can score, and you've got studs on defense. You've got studs. So the problem is you don't score enough. Oftentimes they've gotten better, but I don't know why you don't. I mean, if the guy can win at Ole Miss and recruit the way he does at Ole Miss, he could knock it out of the park at A&M. People don't seem to like it, but I would definitely do it. I mean, I think Lanning's number one, but Kiffin is your number two.
I would love to have Kiffin go to Texas A&M, and they'd be interesting immediately overnight, I think. I'm going to also take Ole Miss, so we're all going to take the favorite there. Charles Dem says Brian Kelly to A&M and Kiffin to LSU. Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, he's right there. If anyone would know there's any rumors, he's in the area.
It could happen. All right, yeah, I think most people would take Ole Miss in that pick. Let's go to the next one. Iowa at Nebraska. Nebraska at 2.5. I'll go first. I'm gonna go. Boy, a field goal. I'm just gonna go with Iowa's defense. It's been dominant this year, and I'll ride them. There's all I can say about that. Moen, what do you think?
Nebraska's had a really good defense as well. I think this is going to be the lowest over-under in NCAA history. Was the last I heard. I am going to take Nebraska to cover.
Oh, okay.
Because it's at Nebraska. I think
right
at Nebraska with that crowd there, I think that's going to make the difference.
So you got one Iowa and one Nebraska, huh?
Yeah. What are you taking?
Do you happen to have Ute's numbers?
No, he hasn't given us his picks yet.
He hasn't given us the picks yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'll send him a text. In fact, I'll do that right now while you're making your pick.
I mean, last year Iowa should have beat Nebraska, and we didn't even beat them at home. This year, it's there. They got a lot riding on this game in terms of wanting to make sure they get to a bowl game, and that's big for your first-year coach. But I tell you what, this Iowa team's been through a lot this year, and I think that they all want to send out Brian the right way in terms of the conference season. There's still the championship game, but I think Iowa's going to pull it out. Luckily, I got the 2.5 because it might only be by 3, but I'm going to go Iowa.
Okay. All right. Very good. I just texted Ute, so we'll get his picks, and we can review those if he ends up getting them in before the end of the show. I'll tell everybody what his picks were as well.
You don't think Iowa's going to rest the punter for the championship game?
Screw that. That guy's leaving. We're having him punt double digits. Like he's getting no rest. Like, have fun in the NFL next year. You are the man, but you get no rest.
Yeah, that cat's gonna be playing on Sundays.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
I mean, what's the earliest round that a punter could possibly get picked in?
Boy,
Third?
no. Yeah, I'd say 5th or 6th. There's
Yeah,
no
but
way you're
he's a
taking
special
a
punter.
punter in third
This guy
round.
is like he gives you within the 5 with like half
I
of his
know.
attention span, even on what he's doing. It's like
Just-
he could be
I just
looking
don't
at some
see it.
girl in the crowd and just kick it right inside the 5 for you. I mean, he'll pay attention if you need it on the 2.
So BYU's got a really good punter, but I don't think he's a senior. Renkow or
Yeah.
Rico is I think he said, and he's been at times he's had the best net for a week, but he hasn't been as consistent as your guy. So I do agree that changing field position is a big deal, but I just don't think a third round. I think the highest a kicker has ever a place kicker has ever been taken is. Wasn't what's his name from Florida State taken in like the 2nd round?
I don't know. I probably should have looked into this more, but I haven't. I just kind of joke around.
I
with
can't
it,
see a punter. I just can't see a punter going maybe
think-
late 4th, but
you might be able to find a punter that'll give you more distance. I don't know the distance
right.
comparison.
But it's about the net though. It's all
Taylor
about the
is
net.
all about positioning, hitting that
Yeah.
ball where he gets it on the out of bounds. It
Right.
doesn't go like way off out of bounds. It's like right at the line.
right.
So he gets max distance with no run backs ever, or having to worry about your guys maybe hitting the guy or doing whatever. So
Oakland, here we go. Eugene's educating us. Ray Guy.
great guy.
was
There
picked
it
by
is.
Oakland, but you got to realize that was back when the NFL had 10 rounds.
The guy who the
per
award
pick.
is literally named after.
Yeah, Ray Guy Award. I had 1st round. Thank you, Eugene, for calling that out right
Good
away.
knowledge.
We appreciate that. Knowledge is power. Okay. Texas Tech, 23rd overall. And Opie's in the house, by the way. He's given us his 2 cents. He says Ray Guy went to the Raiders in the 1st round. So we just don't know, right? We're idiots.
I know. I'm getting schooled on punching right now. It's not a
Yes,
good
we
look.
are. 1972. I was 2 years old. All right. Let's talk. Okay, Texas Tech
Texas
at
Tech,
Texas.
Uh-huh.
Texas has a lot to lose in this game,
Mhm. They do.
and Texas Tech
They're coming on.
They've been very schizophrenic.
They're coming
right.
on though. They're getting better.
I think Texas has to win this game. They want to make that championship game. They just have too much to lose. I'm going to take Texas. Moen.
I've got nothing to lose. I'm taking Texas Tech.
There you go. You do literally have nothing to lose.
Got
That
nothing
is
to
true.
lose.
You have
And I
nothing
like
to lose.
Texas Tech. I am taking the Red Raiders. I think
Okay.
Texas may win, but I don't think they cover.
All right.
Yeah. I need to get one on you, Bomber, but this isn't the one. I'm going
Okay.
with Texas with you.
Okay. All right. Very good. We're also doing the championship week too, right? So there's like 9 championship games to be played.
That's a hard one to get it back on. I think that's
Those
people-
are those are
people tend to get
50-50
those.
games. Every one of those games is a 50-50 game, I think.
I guess maybe it's because I'm from the Big Ten. That's not necessarily the case.
Georgia is going to smoke whoever they play.
I think Georgia's beating Alabama. I think
Yeah.
Florida State's that's the tough one. Anyways, I don't
Yeah.
want to go too
All
much
right.
into next week.
Oregon State at Oregon, 13.5. I am going to take Oregon State. I think that Oregon has been punching down recently.
Mhm.
Everybody is hyping them up to be the next greatest thing, and I think Oregon State's going to catch them. It is in Oregon, so it's in Eugene,
Mhm.
but
So are
I'm
you
gonna take
calling it for
Oregon
the
State.
Beavs to win, or are you just calling it on the spread?
well, I mean, obviously, I'm taking the spread. I'm taking
You're
the
taking the
13
Sure.
and a
spread,
half.
but
But to
you're
win the
calling
game,
for the.
But you're
Oh,
also
okay.
calling the win.
yeah, I think Oregon State's going to beat them.
You know,
I think if they control the ball like they did last week, if they can run the ball like they did against Washington, they will beat Oregon.
we may have to come up with something special next season for a pick like that, where you could actually pick Oregon State
Like
against.
you get 2 points.
Like if
you
there's
get-
like a 10 or more spread and
Right.
you're picking against it, you could get extra points. Yeah.
Right,
maybe.
you get extra points for the pick. I appreciate that. That should be cool. We should think about that. I agree.
But I'm taking Oregon to win, but Oregon State with the spread.
So you're going to take Oregon State.
It's at Oregon. Yeah, if this was at Oregon State, man, I'm giving that home field advantage to Oregon State.
Okay.
To all the Oregon State fans that are in chat, I would give you it. But you're
Okay.
at Oregon, and they've got a lot to play for too. So
Oregon wins, but Oregon State covers.
I'm picking Oregon State for the cover.
All right. What do you think, Moen?
I think Oregon. I think
You're
they
going to take
cover.
Oregon at home. Okay.
Yeah, because it's at home. Bo Nix has a lot to play for. And they're going to try and make a statement for the CFP committee as well. I think Oregon's going to play well.
It's going to be a great game, man. That could be the game to watch of the entire week. That could be it right there.
Do they play Friday?
I believe so. I believe
Yeah,
it's
I think their
Friday
game's
prime.
Friday. I think it's Friday. That'll be one to watch for sure.
Oh yeah, I might be watching that one more than the Iowa game. I'm not even lying. If they're at the same time,
Right.
I might have to turn over and watch that one.
We'll have to look and see what that is. Okay. Colorado at Utah. Okay,
That's an absurd spread.
Utah is going to beat these guys by probably 50 points.
I don't know.
No
one's beat. No one. Like Colorado can score.
Nah, Colorado's done. Their 4 wins is baked in.
22 though. 22.
Yeah.
Has anyone covered that kind of a spread yet this year?
Yeah, there's been a few that Texas covered against
picking.
BYU. There have been a few covers. Yeah, West Virginia covered against BYU.
I feel like spreads like that have been kicking my butt all season. So you're taking Utah or?
Fanatic Sports says he's going to take the Colorado 21.5 or 22.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, go ahead, take them. I don't care.
I'm thinking about it. You taking Utah?
Yeah, I already said it. Yeah,
and you guys both got Utah?
I don't know.
I'm taking Utah. I'm taking Utah.
All right.
Taking Utah on the points. Colorado is so depleted this time of year.
Yeah, they're beat to hell, and Utah wants to punish them.
But Utah did not look. I mean, people are saying Arizona's this good, but Utah did not look good. Like it was part. That was part Arizona, but part Utah.
Let's actually think about that. You did say they held out some of their players last week because they're getting ready for the NFL. That is true. I had actually forgotten about that.
Yeah, they didn't. I mean, Arizona's good, but I don't know.
Arizona's really good.
But I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think this is it. This is the one I'm going to try and catch you on. I'm going to go on the
No, I might change my mind. Is what I'm saying.
I got you knocked down. I'm going to go with Colorado on the spread. Yeah. Colorado's not winning.
I can change my mind. We haven't moved on.
You can. It's your show, man.
My game show. I can do whatever I want. I had forgotten what you said because what you said is
I should have shut my mouth.
Yeah, you did. That's on you. Yeah, you know what? That's right. Who knows if it's third stringers? They hate Colorado so much. They absolutely hate Colorado.
This is Colorado's last game.
JJ.
Last one.
No, you know what? I'm gonna stick with Utah. What the hell?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. We'll see. I wish Ute was here because, whatever he picked, I probably would copy. But I'll roll the dice. We'll have to see what he picks. Moen, you're staying with Utah as well?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Utah.
Okay. All right. There we go. Let's see. Where are we at? Alabama, minus 14.5 at Auburn. So
Auburn got beat at home by New Mexico State, by the way.
The Iron Bowl. Alabama is trying to make a statement at the end of the year. I think they might beat them by 30.
Whoever's making these spreads, it's like they forgot that Auburn just got ran all over by New Mexico State at home.
But it's a rivalry game.
It is a rivalry game.
With rivalry games, you got to throw some of that out the window.
That Auburn team is trash, but okay. I get what you're saying, but that Auburn team is bad.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm picking Alabama.
I'm like, oh man.
I think we're all taking out. Are you taking Alabama Immaculate?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Right. They are actually getting very good right now. I mean, that could be a 28-35 point difference.
Okay. BYU at Oklahoma State, 17.5. let you guys. I'm gonna let you guys pick, and then I'll pick last.
All right, who do you want first?
I don't care. It doesn't matter. Just
All right,
let me
I'll go first on this one. I think that I'm going to have to play my BYU rule card here, and that I cannot pick them.
Okay.
They've been hurting me, man, hurting me pretty bad. So, and this is at Oklahoma State. They're playing for that weird little, who's going to win, who's going to win
Right.
out. I think Oklahoma State is not going to take the foot off the gas on this one. They're at home. BYU has a crazy home field advantage, but so does Oklahoma State. So I'll go with OSU.
It is a day game. Just
They're-
Oklahoma State's different at
Those
night.
people ain't got nothing going on. I mean, I don't mean that to rudely, but I mean, honestly, they'll show up for any time of the day at that location. They will be there and they will be loud.
Okay, Moen.
That point spread, I'm taking BYU. I can see Oklahoma
Oh.
State winning by 17 and not covering.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
taking
gonna
BYU.
take BYU and I'll play the points as well.
All right.
They found something last week, guys. Look, they had Oklahoma beat. They were one offensive coordinator ridiculous call away from winning that game. They had Oklahoma beat. That's all I got to say. So it was the best they played all season, and I watched them beat Texas Tech and Cincinnati at home. They found something, and they're out to prove something here at the end of the season. So I'm gonna take BYU in the points.
All right. BYU is going to find something in that stadium when was the last? Have they ever played there?
No, never been to Stillwater. No.
They haven't. Okay, they haven't. They don't know.
Well,
that place
they
is-
have played. They just played at Texas. It's not like they haven't
it's-
played. They played
it's
at
a-
Arkansas this year. Arkansas at home is just as good as Oklahoma.
It's
State
about-
at home.
The way that stadium is built and how close. I mean, you could barely fit your team on the sideline without it going
I
out.
know,
I
it
mean,
reminds me of
it's-
Wyoming.
it's an unfair
horrible.
advantage. I don't think they
horrible.
should be allowed to do it. Honestly, if I was in charge of the NCAA, I'm walking in there going, you gotta move this back. You can't have kids swinging clubs at the wall mere foot away from a guy's head. I mean,
All right.
it's pretty
Well,
wild.
we'll have to see. It'll be a fun game. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to see some improvement. I think Retzlaff is going to start. So we'll see.
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, that was a big spread though.
Wisconsin, 2.5 at Minnesota. So Wisconsin's laying 2.5. Is there supposed to be a minus? there?
Wisconsin's favor. Yeah, Wisconsin.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
minus 2.5 then. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to take. Well, actually, I don't know. 'Cause
It's a tough one. This is basically straight up, and this is Minnesota at home.
it's at Minnesota, but Minnesota's last 2 weeks has looked just terrible.
Yeah, so is whiskey.
I've watched Minnesota play. I haven't watched Wisconsin play this year. I'm gonna let you guys pick. You're Big Ten people. What do you guys tell me?
I'm giving this one to Minnesota at home for the trophy. Last game of the year. They've had a disappointing season, but they do have some upsides to that team. I mean, they do have a good line. They do have a good kind of running game, and that's where Wisconsin is for whatever reason weak. So I do think that Minnesota can actually control this one at home. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be another ugly game,
Right.
but I think I'm just going to go with Minnesota.
Okay. What do you think, Moan?
Quarterback at Minnesota is just so bad.
Not much better at whiskey.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna go Minnesota too, just for Greg's sake. I'll pick Minnesota. Their running back is really, really good.
Yeah,
I think
they-
if they get the running game going, they can
Yep.
maybe
All right,
score
hey,
7.
I'm gonna go with the people that are voting in the comment section. I'll go with Minnesota as well.
Good.
I just don't know enough about these two teams, and they're at home, and they're given 5 free points. So I'll take them. The home field plus the 2.5. All right. Wazoo at Washington. I'll pick last because this is my state. Immaculate, you go first.
Wazoo is so hard to get a finger on this year. Like they play great and then they play down. This is a rivalry game, but it's at Washington. Washington has so much that they're playing for, but that's a lot of points.
It's in Seattle.
I know, but Washington, to get a win, they don't need that many points. I don't see why they have a drive. Like,
Penix
if they
was trying
win-
to win the Heisman,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Penix
he
had to
does.
make a statement.
Yeah, Penix wants to put points on the board.
Do you think he's fueled by that though? I don't get that feeling from him. Like he actually, yeah.
I think so. I think he is
I'm
definitely.
I'm gonna
he
I'm gonna go
wants-
Washington, but man, this
Yeah.
might be one where I'm gonna get stuck on.
No, because I'm going to take Washington too. Moen, who are you going to take?
I'm taking Washington. I think Michael
Yeah.
Penix. I think DeBoer is going to call up enough plays, deep passes, everything.
Right.
Stats for Michael Penix.
Washington, got out to a 4-0 start and then just fell apart this season. I don't know what happened to them, but ironically,
They had
about
some
the same
sickness on the
week,
team.
they did get that one sick week, but
There was like 3 of them.
after
They
that-
actually said it went back. Like there was like 3 weeks when they were fighting it.
okay. I only knew about one, so that's
Yeah, we heard about it after the fact. Is what I think the story
Okay.
was. Is like they've
All
been
right.
fighting it.
Well, we all took Washington, and I think Ute is probably going to take Washington, but
Probably.
we'll see. Tony Lawson for $2 super chat. Thanks, Tony. He says Minnesota versus Wisconsin is 62-68.
Domination.
All-time Gophers domination. I love it.
Perfectly
Fantastic.
split record. Domination.
That's fantastic.
True West form.
Thank you very much, Tony, for the super chat. Can we get a clap in there for my man, Moen?
That was a
We'll
good
do
one.
even better than that. We'll besmirch the Badgers.
Oh, no. Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you so
Tony,
much.
we all picked the Badgers to lose, by the way. So there's your besmirching of the Badgers that you always ask for.
OP Dinon says 62 ties. No, it was 62, 62, and 8. All right. Let's see here. Florida State, 6.5 at Florida. Now, this is obviously 2 different conferences. It is a heated rivalry game. Florida State's playing to get into the playoff.
Lost the quarterback.
They need to keep playing, but they got dinged up last week, really bad, and Florida is terrible. So everybody said Tennessee is the most overrated team this year. Florida and Tennessee are both the most overrated teams.
Florida has good players but terrible coaching.
Yeah,
And
they
it's, and
need
it's
to
one of
fire
those
him.
scary things where for a game like this, they may shock you. And when you're coming in with a team that does not have their starting quarterback and a quarterback that's only had 1 game, this could be the scary one right here, the one that really messes up the CFP. And
You're in Gainesville too, right?
Mhm.
So
it's going to be
hostile
tough.
territory there.
You got a quarterback who is not, he's not in the flow from having a whole season. He's coming into very, a loud stadium where it's going to be very rough against them, against a team that is better than their coaches have helped them coach be. So,
right.
I'm going Florida. Taking Florida for the upset. Yeah.
Okay, Moen, who are you gonna take?
I'm taking Florida as well. I think being in the swamp is the difference.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
I don't know. Of all these games, the Wisconsin one, I just didn't know anything about either team, so that's one I was just ignorant on. I've actually watched these 2 teams play this year, and Florida has just been so bad.
They have moments.
Florida State, they lose their quarterback. Can they run the ball? Can they control the ball? Instead of scoring 49 points, can they win scoring 20?
He's been the
that's
most
question.
impressive part of that team. It's been him.
Yeah.
He's pulled them out at times when
6.5 points. I wish if it was 3, I'd probably take Florida State. I want to take Florida State. I just it's in Gainesville. I need to take Philip, where are you? Because he could tell his Utes beat the crap out of Florida, and he could.
Tough one. What you got?
Oh, shoot.
It's a rivalry game.
I'll say Florida State.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Hell, it's
All
a game.
right.
Who the hell cares?
I mean,
If
most
I
people
go,
would agree with
I
you.
go 5 and 7, whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay. Let's see here. There was a comment here from the Big Lubbock who came in late. He said, "Did y'all pick my Red Raiders to cover?" I don't think anybody did. Big
I
Lubbock.
did.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did. You
Moen
took. That's
did.
right. That's right. Moen took Texas Tech.
Sorry.
Immaculate and I both took Texas. Don't take it personal. I just think Texas has more to play for.
Texas Tech could surprise us, but
They
yeah,
could,
Texas has a lot to play
absolutely.
for right now.
Yeah, that's kind of what the thinking was. So that's where we were. But thanks for being here. It's good to see you, Lubbock. All right. Clemson, South Carolina, which is another rivalry game, big rivalry game. Clemson's terrible, but is South Carolina terrible too? I don't know.
They are.
All right. So who you gonna? You sounds like you know who you're gonna take. Who you gonna take?
I'm taking Clemson because I think South Carolina's been the biggest disappointment of the SEC this year.
Okay.
And that's saying a lot.
Yeah, considering Florida and Tennessee are in the same conference. Yeah. Who are you gonna take, Immaculate?
You got the home field advantage, huh? Okay. All right. I'm taking Clemson, and I don't even think it's going to be close. I do think Clemson has gotten better as the season has progressed. Their quarterback hasn't, but the rest of their team has said, I guess we have to do this. So
okay.
I mean, they beat up North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take Clemson too. I'll take Clemson. They were so bad at the beginning of the year. It was hard for me to take them. All right, and the last game, the one, the only, and we're anticipating 15 million viewers. We'll find out next week, but that's kind of what Moen's guessing. Moen gets to pick last. I'm farthest separated from it, so I'm going to take Ohio State to beat down Michigan. I'm just they have more to play for. And I think Michigan has seen their shadow, and all the distractions around them are going to bring that team down. And Ohio State's focused, so I'm going to take Ohio State. What do you think, Immaculate?
You're picking Ohio State. Moen's picking Michigan, so I got the tiebreaker here.
I didn't pick Michigan.
What? What are you talking about? That's crazy talk.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm taking Ohio State.
Okay.
I don't actually even think this one's going to be close. JJ has fallen off the map. I don't know what's going on with that guy. When your team can run the ball, okay, I get you go ahead and do that, but it basically still tells us that your coach doesn't really have a lot of faith in him, because you still got to give him some opportunities to pass the ball if you're going to finish the season against Ohio State at home. So to me, that team doesn't really have a whole lot of faith in JJ right now, so neither am I.
Okay. And Moen.
I think Ohio State, I called the score last night, 31-17. I think Travion Henderson has a big day. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. and Cade Stover have big days. The X factor is going to be Julian Fleming. It's taken him 4 years, but he's finally actually starting to click. So I like Ohio State to get some revenge on Michigan and send Sharon Moore his first loss as the head coach of Michigan.
I can't wait. Tony Lawson said 17 million viewers last year. So we could be in, let's talk 18. I would love to see some crazy number like 20 million people watching this game. It just shows you the power of college football. It is amazing. We're talking approaching Super Bowl type ratings. It's just insane. And I want to call out here Jared Jones, our only panel is Moen, but out in the cheap seats we got Jared Jones coming in. He says, "I knew I love this panel of gentlemen. Go Bucks, go Buckeyes." Bucks. Yep, that's what we're gonna call here. So, tell everybody what time and what day that game is, please, Moen.
That's Saturday at noon.
Saturday at noon on Fox.
On Fox.
On Fox. All right, we're gonna call for everybody to watch that game.
It's gonna hit 20 million. I'm saying 20 million viewers for that game.
20 million with all the stirred up and all the counter programming cheering. So many people cheering.
Yeah,
it's hit 17. It hit 17 like in the past couple. And with everything with Harbaugh now and all that whole story, come on, like
20
million at least.
I think we'll break 17. I don't know 20. I mean, that's a huge number, but
you break 17 with no scandal.
That's true. That's true.
That's what I'm
except for
saying.
just
Is
the hate.
I'm saying the scandal is
Yeah.
worth another 3 at least from everyone else who's now hating Michigan, and somehow Ohio State has become the knight in shining armor.
Yeah, I said, what was it, 6 weeks ago? I said that Ohio State was going to have more fans cheering against
Yeah.
Michigan, and not supporting Ohio State necessarily, but cheering against Michigan to watch that game.
It's already
Before
the
they
largest
fail.
fan base in the country.
Right.
Like they need more people cheering for them, but they will.
Casting from Chrome says, I will be one of 21 million. Holy cow, 21 million. It
Picking
just gets
above me.
bigger and bigger. That's
Do I go
crazy.
22? I don't know.
Well, this has been really fun. 12 games. Please, I invite you guys to write down your wins. Send them to me on Twitter. DM those things to me so I can make note of them, and then we'll talk about them next week. And let's have some fun with it this rivalry weekend. It's a big one for all of college football. And I hope everybody has enjoyed what we've done this year with calling and picking games. It's been a lot of fun for us. And can't wait to see where we turn out coming next week. See if I can get a couple more comments in here. Tony Lawson says, Immaculate is Iowa versus Nebraska on NBC or CBS?
I'm actually looking right now.
Okay. Casting for Chrome says Ohio State went from Darth Vader to Luke Skywalker. Well, I don't know about that. Maybe Ahsoka.
No,
you're
it's
talking
Luke
Star Wars,
Skywalker, and before Luke Skywalker sucked. So
Okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
yeah,
Before,
not old man Luke Skywalker, young Luke Skywalker.
The answer is CBS, by the way.
Okay.
There's
CBS.
a lot of other games on at the same time.
I
Good
know
Lord.
the counter programming is going to be nuts.
Holy cow!
All these broadcast partners are absolutely trying to kill each other with their viewing stuff.
I love it. I love it. I got my YouTube TV. I'm going to 4-way that.
LSU. Let's see. Here's one. We didn't pick LSU's game, but LSU has the best QB in the game right now. FSU lost theirs. You're obviously overlooking Penix, so it is true that Jaden Daniels' stats are out of this world.
Yeah, that's all I'm going by.
mean,
I don't
his
think he's
stats
the
are
Heisman
crazy.
winner. I think the Heisman's going to come out of the CFP, but I think Daniels just
Do they
watching
pick
them.
before the CFP though? Don't they pick?
Yeah, but they know who's
December?
going. They know that LSU's not going.
Do they vote after championship week, or do they vote? Are they voting now?
It's a regular season award.
So the championship games don't count. The ballots are due before the championship week.
No, I think it's after.
It might
It's
the
the following
championship
weekend.
game might be part of it, but like,
If the championship games aren't part of it, I could see Jaden Daniels winning it.
maybe. I mean,
Yeah,
it's an
his
opinion.
stats against
you know.
Penix are absolutely they're arcade game stats.
Yeah, but you know what? What I've seen him do to those SEC defenses really kind of kills the whole argument that the SEC has the best defenses. Though their tackling and their ability to get set for a tackle is terrible. Terrible.
Right.
I mean, it has gone downward so far.
You're talking about as a conference.
As a conference, not all the teams. I mean, there are teams that are better at it than others, but it used to be you could watch SEC games and know that you're going to have some great defensive play. That's not the case anymore. That is unfortunately not the case. And he's just making those guys look stupid. I mean, congratulations to him. You know, coming from ASU, going over there, finding success, great for him. But I at times I'm more impressed by Penix just because of his laser accuracy at long range. It's silly. It's absolutely silly at times where he puts the ball.
I guess we'll have to see. I don't know. I definitely think he's making a run at it. He's making a last-minute gasp trying to get in there ahead of Penix, who I think was a leader in the clubhouse last week. So
But you got to remember the West Coast voters, Penix and Nix, and the same. I mean,
that's right. They could split their votes.
Split that vote, and
They
the
absolutely
Southern
could.
and East
Yeah,
Coast riders could put Daniels in there.
He's
should be
exactly
taken
right.
care of in the PAC championship game, though. Whoever wins that will probably get all the Western votes.
You would hope, but
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you know, sometimes they get a little tribal.
Well, we'll have to see. It's going to be interesting and fun to watch, but I definitely think Jaden Daniels could win it, especially if Penix loses to Washington State. But anyway, let's get off of that and let me bring up this news header that we wanted to talk about last night. And I'm actually going to let you just run with this.
Okay.
Immaculate.
Are you able to scroll through that as we go, or am I going to have to do that on the side?
No, I can do it if you tell
Okay.
me when to scroll. I absolutely can.
Sure.
So let me bring it up. Okay, why don't you tell everybody what we're going to be talking about now. We're getting into news and notes, everybody. You might want to stick around. This is stuff we couldn't talk about last night. It's really interesting. And Immaculate's done a deep dive on this, all this stuff about NIL, the great split, as there's being called by Ross Dellinger, and what's going to happen with the A4 and everybody else in college athletics. So I'll just bring that up, and you can go for it.
As folks can see here, he brings up the question, is college athletics headed for the great split? Do we need to recreate or relaunch the NCAA? And that is the part, actually that second part there, while it may not be as eye-opening as something about the great split, the question about whether to recreate or relaunch the NCAA, this is where it is. That's the heart of it. And so as he gets into this, it's a great piece that really dives into a lot of this. He has some interesting folks that he talks to on this. So, I mean, honestly, this article could have been broken into multiple articles. There's that much in it.
Let me post the link to the article so everybody can get it. And I can put it in the comment section. You guys can follow along or read it later at your own. But there's a link. I just put it in the comment section. I recommend everybody look that up. It's a really good article. All right, go ahead.
So as he starts going into it, he's talking about the Maryland athletic director, Damon Evans, sitting before a group of these college athletic stakeholders. Now, we don't really know who that is, but you could probably guess that this is some kind of committee group put together by, lots of power holders, other presidents, whomever. These are the people who are basically sitting down and going to basically think tank their way through figuring out what to do going forward. And when he starts to go into this, they start talking about, as you see in the next paragraph, looking how to operate from under a new governance structure. And when I read this early in the article, I realized, okay, this is finally what I've been waiting for. I knew that going forward with what they want to do in 2026, my opinion, they needed new rules. They need new rules, and getting those through the current NCAA is such a pain. You could only get them like one time a year in January at the convention. So you've got to get all your ducks in order this once a year. And if you don't get it to happen, you're waiting a whole other year. Whereas in the autonomous conferences structure, they can vote on anything at any time. And if they pass it, it's through. It's just what they govern right now is very limited. It's limited to some student athlete issues. Won't go into that. But what this starts to talk about is what everyone's calling for is kind of, everyone knows the NCAA is inefficient. And so how are we going to govern this whole big system going forward? We've got NIL issues that might get blown up. We have possible student employees status. Does that get governed under this? And so with all of these converging factors all at one time, it is not going to be a fun job for these folks to actually figure out what to do. And that's what we start to go into with this article when they start talking about a new governance structure. You have it right down here, and he says he's talking anywhere upwards of 5 years from now that we'll be at a point where we're sharing revenue with student athletes. Folks, that's basically 2029, 2028. That is not that far away. When he's talking to the Knight Commission, I don't know if you folks are aware of this group. It is kind of a private college athletics think tank type of group. As you get in here, there'll be another person from the Knight Commission that he talks to a lot in this story. And so you'll kind of get an idea of who's a part of that. It says to think that we're not going to be sharing some of those revenues, we are going to be there. It would surprise me to see some sort of different type of governance structure in place. It would not surprise me. That separates the A5. Still talking about the A5, even though the PAC's not there, which is interesting, but it's kind of old terminology out of the current structure. Now, That to me is interesting because that would be actually separating from the G5 and the rest of the FBS to a degree. And I'm still not on board with that just yet. I think having them working with the A5 in whatever they're going to try and maneuver on the NCAA, I think that helps. And we've seen previous some conversations once again by Dellinger with some folks where they're saying it'll be either the A4 or all of FBS will do it. So in terms of this coming up here, they bring up the next thing, the House antitrust case against the NCAA. And this is the thing right here. If there's a lot of cases going on right now, and all of them bear reason to watch. But this one right here is what I would put at number one, the House versus NCAA case. And in this, they have 3 different class action lawsuits worked out here where the judge over this whole case picked out 3 classes. That means different groups within the class action that have different grievances. Like the one group has the most, and those are all in common. The second group has the second most. So they were able to divide this into 3 different groups. But otherwise, this thing is huge. And when you look at this, it says seeking as much as $3 billion in retroactive payments. That's basically all these student athletes from the past are now coming saying you illegally withheld our NIL rights. And now that you have gone forward and saying that these rights are real and that you're doing this, they've basically opened up Pandora's box. How this is going to get paid for? Well, the NCAA is the schools. So the schools will have to find a way. And remember, these schools probably won't have equal payouts. The bigger schools that have made more are probably going to get judged harsher in this. But at the same time, some of those schools have much more capability to actually pay this off. Whereas some of the smaller schools, they could be in big trouble. And this is causing folks to talk about there possibly even being sports programs at schools that will get nixed and get axed. And how that comes down, I do not know. But when you start to come into this, the House case is much more significant. It opens the door for direct pay to athletes from the past. This isn't even, in the future with some of the things people are seeing. You're seeing employee status. You're seeing possible unionization. That's in the future. We can't even get to that until they figure this out, because this is going back to the past and past payments and figuring that out. So this is the number one. And, saying FBS schools each chipping in upwards of 5 to 10 million a piece, I think it could be more than that. I don't have the math in front of me, but that actually seems a little low. And here's the first one that he goes into. One of the people that is on that commission is Kevin White. As it says, former Duke and Notre Dame athletic director. He was dealing with this, and that's an interesting connection. I've poked into it a little bit with the whole Duke, Notre Dame, Stanford connection now within the ACC. This is someone who worked at both of those schools as an athletic director. He's talking straight here right now. This is where he gets the whole recreate or relaunch the NCAA from. It's coming from the Knight Commission. There looks like they're in talks with Charlie Baker, whom has recently come out himself and made some comments. I do believe you guys talked about that.
Yes, we did. We talked about Charlie Baker last night.
Yep. And they're saying that there is modeling going on for this. This isn't something where they're watching it and deciding, trying to figure out what are we going to do. It's being created right now. And they name another consulting group that's in there. I don't know anything about this Huron group, but it looks like they're helping create some of these models. And as he comes down in here, they actually start to go into how some of these models, they do involve the power conference schools leaving and taking their resources with them. Now, what I say to folks a lot is to keep in mind, in order to get the autonomous conferences first made back in 2014, the then simply called power conferences threatened to leave the NCAA. That's what they did. And that at that point in time, it was over those $2,000 student, I forget what they're calling, but payouts that they wanted to give to student athletes for just expenses and whatnot. And the open vote failed within the NCAA. So what had to happen was they threatened to leave. The NCAA said, no, we can't afford you doing that. So here is just enough autonomy to pass rules for that one situation you had with student athletes. And that's all they got. Probably wasn't all they wanted to get. So here we are again, looking at the same, yes, as Charles says in chat, it is the stipends. Thank you very much. We're basically in the same situation again, but the odds are much larger. And therefore, the threats are going to be larger. The attacks, and we're seeing a lot going at the NCAA right now that it is not making it look good. So if you're some folks who are sitting at the NCAA right now just trying to collect their checks, you probably wouldn't mind a new governance system to where the entire spotlight isn't on you. And I think that's where we're going. And that's probably some of these models that don't include the A4, the A5 all taking their money and running. Because as it says, only some of them include that. So that's the threat. That's the statement right there of this. They could break away if we don't get this right. But they also have models for how to get it right if they don't break away. So that's really what this gets into. And this causes a lot of people to be worried. But like I said, this is what we have needed. It is, the whole situation has been so locked up and unable to move forward that you have everyone kind of fighting for little small bags, causing people to get left behind. What they could possibly do with this governance means those that are in the G5 may actually not have to worry as much. And we can get into that another time. That's a whole other conversation. But I'll just say, to me, I think that this could actually be better for the G5 than what they currently have. If we can get conference playoffs at the end of the season, they could actually sell that. So, I don't think this has to end ugly. And here they say the timeline, what we're doing right now. In order to get this to happen, they need to have this ready to go by the NCAA convention mid-January. They need to have a presentation, proposals. If not, it has to wait a whole other year. And that, in everything, is the reason why the NCAA is just a bad setup. If you can only vote once a year for changes, that makes you very hard to respond to situations as they arise. Whereas the autonomous structure that's set up, they can vote whenever as long as they got the votes for it. So this is what this is going into. And as we go in, I think that it goes into a little bit about how they could leave even with basketball and football. But what this is they're basically saying we effed up, But yeah, that part you're highlighting right there, that is something for people to take a look at. This is the timeline of when to really watch something coming out. It's interesting when you see other talk about certain schools talking about leaving. Basically be a month after that. Their current conferences. If they get the things passed at that convention, we're full goal going forward. We'll see, but that is very much the date right there.
What's this piece right here?
Yeah, this is where they're talking about direct pay. It'd be like whether you have an employee status, so you get hired at like a particular pay rate, or if they're going to be, more like independent contractors, and however much you make, you get your percentage of it. They're going to have to look over this and try and figure out what's the best. But what this is saying here is that they're looking at maybe only doing that for the money-making sports like football and basketball. I don't know if they would have to do it by Title IX and say women's basketball and say women's volleyball as well, or something like that. I do not know, because this is probably going to be done at the conference level. And with those they're still under some of the same NCAA rules, but I don't know about this. They might get an exemption. I mean, this is all new ground. So we'll have to see. But yeah, they are in the heart of this. It's happening now. This is one of those things where like, well, one of these days they're going to have to deal with this and look at this. But as you can see, going down through this article, and I don't even think you're even close to the bottom of it yet. But yeah,
There's
you
this
look at-
right here where you're looking at estimates and total charge.
Yeah, and this is talking about the college football playoff and how much more money is going to come from that, just based off of like the 24 and 25, the expansion of it. And I've gotten into that, and some people have taken a different line on it. But it says right here, what it says, roughly 4 times what it currently produces of what it's predicted to make. Now, some people say due to the economy, due to recession, it's not going to be as much, and that's possible. Well, but the numbers that I used for my multipliers was 3. What they're saying here is 4. So I was being conservative. So I think that the numbers that we've put out for folks in terms of what could be coming in for 24 and 25 were very good. Even, I would say, recession proof, because what the Knight Commission is saying is 4 times. So, take what you like, but we're talking about a lot of money. And what they're worried about is with what's going on with coaches, that the coach money will continue to keep going up. Coaches' agents take big portions of that, and that all this money keeps going to coaches. But, the comparison is becoming to compare it to the NFL. Who makes more in the NFL? Is it the coaches or is it the players? Now, it's not that college coaches don't deserve to get paid better than NFL coaches. They do. They do a lot more work. But it is getting so out of whack that they're going to have a hard time finding a judge or a court in the land that's actually not going to side with the students on this one. The numbers are just pretty silly. And the folks who manage this money at these schools kind of showing them they're not very good at it. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but that's what they're talking about here. They're talking about the CF money coming in, and with the money just getting higher and higher, that it's just going to give more ammunition to students to start more lawsuits. So they got to figure this out now to head this off before all this money starts coming in.
Okay. Anything else you want to mention on this thing before we
Kind of
move off
just
of it?
scroll through it. I think that there was more in this, but yeah. See, there's some talking here about like maybe some sports being lost by certain schools, because that's a bit of a worry. I don't know if there's really a whole lot to worry about that in terms of them losing a lot of sports, but this just goes into like NIL rules, and I think that we're seeing NIL is starting to fade a little bit, that it's not maintainable. The numbers that were coming in, they're going to drop. And so in order to, now that they've created this desire within these players, and they know that the NIL money is going to start dropping just because donors can't keep up with it. They spiked out, and then it's going to settle down, that they're going to have to start dipping into this money, or else it's going to get pretty darn chaotic when all these students are used to getting certain money, and it's not going to be there, and these lawsuits are just going to ramp up. So there's quite a draw. I don't know if you can scroll down a little bit further here. Yeah, see, they're saying right there. Yep, there you go. The aggressive push to make college athletes employees, and the case in Pennsylvania before the NLRB. If you hear that, folks, the NLRB, people oftentimes just say the NLRB. It's that National Labor Relations Board. So you're talking about basically federal government office that is directly overwatching this, and I think there's a case of theirs also in Southern California against USC. So it's all over the place right now. But yeah, as this one says, it is the House case that may drive the final wedge, and there's a lot of kind of fearful talk here. Maybe it will do that, but remember, there was talk upwards that there's also models for that to not happen. in terms of their, if we're going to pay the freight for the house, this is something that I've definitely been talking about. If you're going to pay the freight for house, referencing the power leagues, then why are we sharing the revenue to that extent? They realize they are the ones that are going to have to pay the vast portion of this. And the only thing that I see the smaller schools have that they could give in return is votes. Like, what does the NCAA have of value besides its vote? So if you're going to have like this small group of schools at the top with most of the money pay for this whole situation here, all you have to offer them is a vote. And in return, I would think that they're going to ask for that autonomy, that governance. I think the autonomous conferences might take over the entire Division I governments. We'll see. But it could easily go to that point, because as they get into here, they're saying if we have to pay for all this, there's no reason for us to share revenue with you guys like we do. So you're going to have to give them something that they want in return for that. And he kind of goes into that a little bit more here as well.
Anything else?
Yeah, as he says right there, you just kind of scrolled past it. The Evans he's hopeful. And this is where, after delivering you the hard shot, the fear shot, now they can say that they're hopeful with the new model. It can preserve the competition of the basketball tournaments and everything. And that means not leaving the NCAA. That's what that means. So if folks are saying it's a guarantee that they leave the NCAA, they do this, no. You just got to remember, they're delivering the carrot and the stick. It could be this, but we would rather it be this. It's just, okay, what do you want in order to get that? And I think, it's going to be full or almost full governance for the autonomous conferences over Division I. And I think you can probably find more in this to go over that for people to look at, but that's where I'm thinking it's going. And as Moen has talked about, as he's saying, Chai here, the conference employee angle, I think that's going to be the one. I think we're looking at conferences, even as this, there's a story where the Big Ten conference actually went out and made a deal with a company to provide service to the student athletes for them to use. And I think that's the future going forward. I think that they're already starting to do it. Like, normally that would be something that the school would do with its own athletes, and conferences are now starting to do with the students directly.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't know if there's anything else in there you want to go get over. I mean, like I said, you're about halfway down through it, I think. So
I think we can cut it off here. This is pretty extensive.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, this could have been like 3 or 4 in there.
Right.
And I highly suggest folks to go through there. And if there's anything unsure about, bring it up. We can always go into this again. And I think that this is something to continue to revisit, because this one right here, this was a big article.
Let me see if I can get a shorter link to it, because that other one I posted was actually 2 pages of links. Just shows you how large this article was. There's so many. I mean, look how long the hyperlink is. I can't copy that into the comments. So I would just tell you to look. Let me scroll to the top here. I would recommend everybody just do a search on Yahoo Sports for this title, and I'll put this title in the comment section. Is college athletics. Just put that into a Google search, and you can find the article yourself. It's quite extensive, but it is a wrap up of all the stuff we've been talking about for how many months now? 7-8 months. This article covers that far back of information that we've been talking about. So I would encourage everybody to search that out. So Moen, what do you think about all that? We've talked about it in pieces over the last several months. What are your biggest takeaways from that thing?
I think I mentioned it last night. I think they're going to just dismantle the NCAA and put something new in its place. I think there's too much archaic rules within the NCAA.
Yeah.
They have to keep going back and changing this rule and changing this rule and changing. It's going to be way better for them to just start new, tear down the NCAA, all the Division I get together, form their own thing, call it whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Come up with a snappy little acronym for yourselves, and that's what you do.
I would agree with that fully, except for the fact that the NCAA probably doesn't really want to do all the work involved with that. I agree with you. The Division I is going to become something else and govern entirely on its own via the autonomous conferences and their rulemaking, which everyone in Division One currently can do anything that the autonomous conferences passes. So it's kind of like a representative government. They're making rules, and you can use them all. It's not just for themselves. But as far as the rest goes, I don't even know what you do for Division 2 and 3. They're the ones that are really going to have a hard time facing like the collectivist thought, the unionization thought. Whereas at the big schools, it's more just straight about money. You at Division 2 and 3, a lot of those schools don't even pay full scholarships, so it's just a different problem. And I'm not very well versed in it, but I don't know if they actually want to create a whole new model. They might just be like Division 1, create your thing, and that might be it. Because how interested are these people in creating something that massive and redoing it all over again? I don't know. Maybe I'm just a cynic. I don't know if they have it in them, but I agree that would be the best option if possible.
Well, I think we have to be really creative when we talk about different things, because as we've seen, nothing changes. Unless somebody's forced to do something, a lot of talk, but not a lot of action. So are they going to end up being forced to do something by somebody else? And then there's the piece we talked about last night, which is the NCAA asking for federal help to manage NIL. They basically threw their hands in the air and surrendered what they thought was the best thing they could provide, which is oversight and control. So we'll have to see. I don't know. I'm really
just remember something here is that you're seeing all these private group names come up: the Knight Commission, the Huron Group, all these private groups, and that's who these NCAA bureaucrats lean upon, because you got to have someone who's creative, someone who can actually make something. And the people in the NCAA tend to be more along the lines of the politician type.
Right.
Like they play more of a politics game. So these groups coming in are going to have a lot of power, and all the money that's involved with this. And when their names come out that they're involved in doing this, they all of a sudden start getting a lot of money coming towards them from other groups who are like, hey, what do you think about this idea? So this is when it starts to get a little hazy, when outside money starts coming in, outside influence. And, when people are like, oh, the networks have control. Well, this could be one of those situations where they actually have a lot of say in what happens, because the folks who are going to create this model are a private entity.
Right.
Think like lobbyist type groups at the government. But in this case, these private entities are going to be doing this, and they can have other contracts on the side, other deals. And a lot of the reason why they'll get those is because they have this influence. So that's just why you want to watch those groups, and you want to see what connections they have, is because that could be influencing what we have in the future.
There are a lot of great comments in the comment section. I can't even tell you. There's probably 200 comments since we started this. Just a couple highlight ones. Here's Charles, who we know is a lawyer. He says, if they go away from amateur sports and they're a fourth-tier pro league, I know what third-tier baseball pro players make. It's nothing. I don't think that it's going to become a semi-pro type deal. I haven't heard anything that says they're walking away from the collegiate part of it, because they get to exist in a tax-free, they're tax exempt, I should say, not tax-free, but tax exempt as universities, not for profit, as it were. So I don't think that's going to happen, Charles. At least I haven't seen anything written that says that's going to be happening anytime soon. The Title IX, which Moen was mentioning here, obviously everybody knows Title IX means for every sport that the men have, the women have to have a corresponding participation sport. And if they break away basketball and football, what does that do to Title IX and the rest of the university? And then where does the funding come from to support those programs? That would have to be that, because we have this one lawsuit that we're waiting for now, and then you could turn around and we could have a Title IX lawsuit, a federal one, basically saying, okay, now you guys have decided you're going to break away, per se, and now where do we get our money, and how do we get our equality, if it goes that way? I wanted to welcome BR to the show. He says, "Go Pokes, beat BYU," and he's saying that to me. Bomber, good to have you, BR. Be here. BR is late to the show, but we appreciate you being here. I like this Blaze Barstow, our Texas guy, who's taken on to the show. Thanks for being here, Blaze. He says, "Money talks, alma mater walks." Do you guys know what that means? I'm not sure what that means, but it sounded funny.
If he's from Texas, I guess the money made them walk away from the Big 12.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's it. We get down here to some further comments. Let's see if I can get to them. Casting for Chrome says minor league college football coming. I don't think it's going to be minor league. I think it's going to be something else. Moen has described this other entity to manage it that's outside the NCAA, but that doesn't make it minor league.
No.
That's a different.
It's still what it is. It's
Yeah.
just managed different.
2.0.
2.0. That's right. NCAA 2.0.
People think they want to do what the NFL does. And my answer to that always is and will be the NFL is a league of teams that are based and focused around large metropolitan areas.
Right.
Their fan bases, their followings are very centralized, very local, very close. I mean, yeah, they spread out past that, but that's who they depend upon to come to their games, buy the tickets, largely buy most of the merch. Universities are not that way. Once people graduate, they go all over the place, So you don't have that same structure. You have to have folks around that necessarily didn't go to your school. You have to get them to start caring. And in places like Iowa, that's easy because we don't have pro teams when you're there. But in a lot of other places, it's not that way. So they cannot just take 30 or 40 teams and separate and treat it like the NFL, because that's a lot of people you're alienating. And you might be surprised who isn't an alumni at a school, but they still go and watch and support. And if you just start dividing them up away from all these other schools, you're just making losing programs out of winning programs. So
I agree with that. Casting for Chrome says he was a paid member, by the way, says it was always education. Now it's money while getting an education and playing a game. The one thing that you could say it's minor leagues is that these both basketball and football players are spending time in the collegiate ranks to be qualified to go to the NFL and the NBA. That is a fact. From that standpoint, that is true. And it is more about the money than it is graduating with the degree, although there is value in the degrees. Charles says D3 non-scholarship FCS works the same.
If I could say something to that, though, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because that's what university is. It's it's meant for you to go that next level of training to prepare you for your career. So for football players who want a career in football, they go to the university and you learn an awful lot about how to do that, much more than you did at your high school. So I still think that the football team is educational, but when they make so much money, you just can't argue that the kids, just what they're making for the school, that they don't deserve more than, $30,000 a year tuition. It's just gotten too big.
Let's see. Blaze Barstow follows up his by saying, "This is why the 12, meaning the Big 12, is trying to create more income revenue streams. I hope they succeed." Yeah, definitely. Brett Yormark's being very creative with revenue streams. There's no doubt about it. Jason Spangler's late to the house. He says, "Sup, y'all?" And then a couple more comments here. Blaze Barstow says, "Someone said athletes would not hurt their alma maters for money. I think many would."
We talked about this last night. This is like Chris Spielman.
Oh, that's
Ohio
right.
State for NIL rights.
That's right. That's right.
And the more you have this, transfer portal type of situation, there's going to be less loyalty. The school, it's more about what is the school and program doing for me rather than the other way around. And to each their own. That's their right to feel that way, but that's just how it seems like things are going now. And
right.
And that is a little bit more like the NFL.
Casting for Chrome says more kids are using their degrees than playing on Sundays. That's
Absolutely.
obviously true.
Yep.
It's the 1% of the 1% that are playing on,
but
Sundays and everything else.
You could have kids that don't go to the NFL that could come out of college
course.
here in the future having made millions of dollars.
Of course. Yeah,
And
that's
that
true.
and I think that that's excellent because now at least those kids for doing that much, I mean, they're doing a lot more than usual student athlete. I mean, they are going to their classes, they're doing all the coursework, and then, you know, in the evenings and the mornings they're doing other practices. So I don't have a problem with them getting something else above and beyond what other, you know, the student comes out there with debt, you don't come out with debt, and you've got this money to get started in life. You did a lot for the school. I got no problem with it.
Jason Spangler says the fact that football and men's basketball generate so much money qualifies them as work-study individuals. That's
what the
an
NCAA
interesting
calls it.
classification. Yeah, I think, but there is power in words, and so how they define these things really is what is going to dictate what the opening is for sure.
You know, and the NCAA has always wanted to control that defining, but they're losing control of that now.
The NCAA is almost dead at this point. Trinity is over 74,000. Do you guys know what that number represents?
I think he's talking about tuition for a year.
Yeah, tuition.
Wow, 74,000 to go to Trinity. That is crazy. What are there, 2,000 students at Trinity or something? It can't be very high, the population.
I'm wondering why that is, because I mean that's Ivy League.
Yeah,
level.
it is. That's Harvard type numbers.
That's not
Yeah.
graduate study like the high end schools. You got to pay a lot more to get into those. But just like your base tuition at the Ivies is right around there.
It's very true. And then Jason Spangler says they are school employees. Well, they're certainly trying to make that definition stick. We will find out. All right, guys, I think we're done for tonight. Again, I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel on YouTube, follow us all on Twitter, and then turn on your notifications for all of those things. It really matters to follow our show and stay up on the news that we track for you on Twitter. Trinity has 2,600 students, Charles says. And number 6 Trinity U plays number 1 North Central Illinois on Saturday in the D3 National Championship Tournament, second round. So honestly, it'd be great if Division 1 did a 32 team.
Did you see that round 1 was 32 teams there? Like when people say, "Oh, these kids are playing too many games," the teams that don't even play their kids' scholarships are playing them. Like that's a lot of games.
It's crazy. Moen doesn't want a lot of teams in a tournament. Not at all. Let's see. Anything else you guys want to say before we go?
Just this is personally what I've been waiting to see. So for me, I'm expecting a whole lot of activity on Twitter X. Anyone who's interested in this, I highly suggest give me a follow or keep an eye on me. And I know you guys are involved with that as well. So we're probably all going to be pretty loud about this as more of this starts to come out. It seems like it's almost an everyday thing, and we're aiming for the end of the year. So that is not that far away, guys.
I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Enjoy your time with your families. Have a great rivalry weekend with all of your family and friends. Really quick, I'm going to post the games that we did. We picked every one of these games. So if you want to just go back and stop the video, you can write down your winners, DM them to me before tomorrow. I will keep track and we'll talk about them on Tuesday. There's a lot of games there, a lot of rivalry games, a lot of good games playing this weekend. We encourage everybody to participate and watch those and be a part of that part of the show. Other than that, I want to welcome everybody here. Thank you very much for being here. Have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. And I don't know, I might do a pop-up show on Friday, but probably not. I'm going to be watching games. So we'll talk next weekend. Everybody have a great weekend. Go BYU. Go Seahawks tomorrow against San Francisco.
You mean go Hawks? Go Hawks?
Yeah, it's go Hawks. That's right.
Can I get one more drop in?
Please.
And most especially in 310 days in Ann Arbor, Michigan, on the football field.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. Okay. Go BYU, go Hawks is right. Thank you, Immaculate. And everybody have a great weekend. Stay out of trouble. And I will talk to you soon. Everybody, bye-bye. Peace.